I've always believed that you should do what you can to make a better world, and I ran into a political party that has that as virtually the slogan of the party. Tommy Douglas, who was the founder of the New Democratic Party, always says, "Courage, my friends. It is never too late to make a better world." And I thought there's just an embodied optimism there that I found very attractive and exciting. Of course, then there's the question, what do you mean by a better world? There are different visions for what would constitute a better world. And our party is one that believes it should be a world where everybody has the opportunity, where there's less inequality and more equality, where there's human rights as a fundamental, where the pursuit of peace is always our objective, where leaving the planet in better shape than when we found it is a responsibility that we have. And all of these ideas attracted me to the New Democratic Party. Personally, I guess I was exposed to politics at a pretty early age. My father was very involved. Why was he involved? Because his father was very involved. Why was he involved? Because his father was very involved. It goes back to my great-grandfather, who was a blind man. He actually came here to be an organist. He came from Britain, came to Montreal to be an organist. They hired him via correspondence, and he arrived and they found out he was blind, and they said suddenly that the job wasn't available. So it was a discrimination of the first order, and rather than getting discouraged, he set out to tune pianos and to start up a business, which is still here in Montreal on St. Catherine Street. And he felt he was able to become quite successful. He felt it was wrong that people with disabilities should, by and large, live in abject poverty. Blind people, unless they happen to be part of a wealthy family, were essentially closeted away and unable to really participate at all in society in those days. There wasn't Braille reading, there weren't seeing eye dogs, there weren't white canes, so there was no income whatsoever for them, and they relied just simply on whatever charity might come their way, selling pencils and on the streets and getting kicked in the head by punks. And so he started a broom-making operation where blind people could come and make brooms. They made the best curling brooms available. And it's done down at the Montreal Association for the Blind. So, and then brought Braille training and seeing eye dog training and white canes and all of that to Canada, he and his wife. And then he heard about, in the Depression, the work of people in the U.S. who were talking about the New Deal. What's the New Deal? Well, it was, if you've got a whole lot of people living in poverty and struggling, it's important for us collectively to adopt policies that will lift these boats that are struggling. And so he became attracted to that and said, we should give a pension to everyone who's blind. So they have a certain basic minimum standard of living. And a lot of the veterans had come back from the war and they were blinded by mustard gas, and so he was a smart marketer. He put the veterans out front. Of course, everybody wanted to support the veterans. But he said it shouldn't just be the veterans. It should be anybody who's blind. And that became one of Canada's first social programs. He actually organized a movement around this. You had to be blind to belong. Yeah. He said, he always said, well, how could sighted people possibly know what blind people, are really living like? So you can support us if you want, but we'll run our own organization, thank you. So he's kind of a hero amongst blind activists, actually. Anyway, this went on through the family, and each of my ancestors got involved in politics one way or another, working for change. And that, I guess, infused me with a certain optimism. And meanwhile, our party across the country was doing some pretty amazing things. The New Democratic Party brought the first Medicare program to Canada in Saskatchewan. At the time, we were called the CCF, Cooperative Commonwealth Federation. Nice words, actually, if you think about what they embody. And Tommy Douglas was the first leader and the first democratic socialist government in Canada, in fact, and brought Medicare on the principle that If any one of us is sick, we should all take the responsibility for ensuring they have access to health. They should never have to worry about whether they have enough money in the bank in order to be able to give safe birth to their child. It shouldn't depend on whether you've got money, or if you become ill and have to go to the hospital. You shouldn't have to check whether you've got any money in the bank before you can walk in the door and get care, or to go to a doctor's office. And so all these things were done in Saskatchewan, and eventually our party at the national level pushed for this to come to Canada as a whole. And in our parliamentary system, even a party that had never been the government of the country, and our party has yet to become the government of the country. I expect that's coming soon. The influence of the New Democrats, particularly in minority parliaments, which involve no one party having total power, so there have to be compromises and coalitions and work together. That brought Medicare to Canada, it brought Canada Pension Plan to Canada, it brought a national housing program, and many other good things. So I found all this very exciting and became involved, and before you knew it, I was working in my own local community with people who were very low income and looking for housing or living in substandard housing. And I just got involved in my free time working with people who were working on those issues. And before you know it, people were saying you should run for city council. So I did, and I ended up on city council, and I guess that was 25 years ago.